Namaste.
Namaste.
Okay, so I believe this our last satsang?
Yes.
Oh,
We'll have a public talk on Tuesday, but this is our last gathering together.
okay, so we're on the downhill roll.
Well, until completion,
Yeah, I understand.
but that's a whole different thing.
That is a whole different thing. So what is the opportunity as we're getting ready? How many of you are staying in India for the next session? I'll say more than half. Okay. And the rest of you, this will be the opportunity to begin to look at reentry. And the nature of bringing what has come to you has two parts. One is to be able to stay in touch with the value that you've received. And the second is to have a intent for yourself as you go back into life. Now, for those of you who are still here, it's also true, because everything we're doing here is a reflection of two things. That true authority that you are, and your capacity to consecrate your life. That ability in us to stay in choice with our choice. To keep choosing that which aligns us with the truth of what we have come to. And that is, I'd like the word to use is consecrated life. Even you here is a reflection of the degree of consecration. Consecrating means to offer up. To consecrate means to make sacred. To consecrate means to take everything else that wouldn't and sacrifice it for that which does. And that is the opportunity to bring yourself to that quality of your being, of your core nature, that carries the true authority, that can make a decision and stick with it, that can follow through, that can endure the process of the tests and the challenges that will inevitably come, and that it will inevitably come. So what is that quality of you? What is that principle? What is your relationship with that? That's the key entry point. And that's your anchor. That's what you hold to. Now, how far we are, how far we've come in touch with that inner authority, that inner capacity, it varies. Some of you are still seeking outside for validation of that innate authority. Some of you doubt your own knowing, question your own sense of what's true. This is a struggle. Almost everyone at different stages of the path will encounter the wavering, the caviling, the doubt, the questioning of yourself, as well as the questioning of your capacity to stay with the path, or question the capacity of what you're consecrating to, or the structure you're consecrating to, of being able to be the most effective way of getting there. That's why we have to come to causality. We have to come to the recognition that we are the ones who are having life show up like it is. Because the fact is, any path that you consecrate yourself to will get you there. You can be in the world, you can be married, you can have children, you can be successful, as long as you're in touch with that call within yourself that gives you your sense of direction, that sense of the opportunity that your life carries. This is your Dharma. This is the thing that inspires you. This is the thing that when you're in touch with it, a vibrancy comes, immediacy comes, a willingness comes, a determination comes, a willingness to apply your intelligence, to apply effort, the more clarity you can have, the more aligned you can be, the smoother and more effective and more direct can you get there. This is true in human life, and this is true in spiritual life. What travels this is that essential reality. That is the truth of you, which when you find it, you recognize as being your true authority, the thing that you've longed to know, to be in relationship with, and then that, from there, bring it into life. In the human system, this is desire, hope, faith, or belief, or trust, the values you were raised in. Depending upon the nature of that, I was raised Catholic, and I didn't know anything about religion. I was born into it. I went to Catholic schools. They talk about God, and I figured as a kid, when we would go to church after school, God had the bigger house. So he must be more important than our house. So there was this kind of blind assumption that God was this bigger thing. And that became foundational. It was really very much foundational. And the more information I got, that when, God was this Jesus, and there was this story, and there was the disciples, and there was all this thing, all of that was indoctrinating me. It was a belief system that someone else has carried, because the guy has been dead for 2,000 years. But I got indoctrinated with it. But the advantage of that is that it created a sense of values, a sense of direction, a sense that God is with me, and that there is a purpose in life, and there's ways that I can align with it and ways that I cannot align with it. And if I don't align with it, well, then I'm the one in trouble. I can't get away with it justifying and explaining it within that paradigm, or go into agreement with other people who think being bad is what to do. It had to be something that I had to find. Now, in my case, in the initial part of my life, those were values that aligned me, and I thought that was all there was to live for. I totally had simple faith, simple trust, until I discovered sex. And then it all went out the window. Trust or belief have little power in direct experience. And for an inappropriately long period of time, that was my organizing principle. Coming to life as a man, coming to life in relationship with women, coming to life exploring experiences, discovering what's possible. That was like the truth. And there was no hesitancy about being bad or being good. All that thing fell away. I mean, it really did. It was like a temporary scaffolding that gave me a place to start from. Now, what happened with that, of course, is it got dark. When you follow your impulses, when you follow your instincts, when you venture into territory that others are recommending you don't go into it, usually you find out for yourself why they recommend don't go there. And that's what happened to me. And then what allowed me to recover myself was this previous orientation, that there was such a thing as goodness, there was such a thing as God, there was such a thing of living aligned with values that would bring me to God. And I built a human life, not falling back into Christianity. I had found Amara Baba, and then I found other things that seemed to be truer in my own direct experience, and in that way navigated a course of life. But the critical thing that was a benefit for me was that Christian upbringing, which I do know that in the secular West, very few people have that anymore. The parents didn't believe in it, or there was a lot of mixed communications about it. But in my family, it was deeply religious from my parents and then their parents and their parents. The Gita says something about that with fallen yogis, that those who come to complete the journey are born in the families of those who are virtuous. So I was born in a family where that virtue was the foundation. My father had given up all the possibilities that he carried to raise his family. He was brilliant, and he got his one of the earliest degrees in biochemistry. He worked with the DNA. He was in Stanford University and in Berkeley. Brilliant man, gave it all up to just be a good person, because that was the value system he was raised in, that he raised his family in. He taught school to a black high school for 36 years. He was offered jobs in teaching colleges and other places, but his wife did not want to leave her family in the Bay Area, didn't want to take the kids out of school. So he sacrificed the possibility of him being able to go further in his life individually. So these were values that were lived, that were demonstrated. At one point, the youngest daughter in our child in our family died, and it was a crisis of faith for both my parents. And it was an unspoken contract. My father said later, when we would talk about these things, God betrayed me. I thought we had a deal. I do all the right things, and he takes care of me and my family. Isn't that simple, childlike? See, we've come out of that era. We've come into an era where we have this incredible choice. We don't have the deep conditionings that existed as just 50, 60, 100 years ago that shaped everyone. Now there is this vast freedom, unfortunately without much responsibility. So the values in the modern age are actually something we have to discover. We have to find within ourselves a resonance that tells us this is a greater truth than what I can tell by what's around me. And there is some advantage to this because we don't have as much conditioning about how it has to show up. We can actually begin to recognize a spiritual awakening as something other than the devil taking me over. We can begin to see that there is a way of directly accessing the things that all religious traditions spoke of in our own experience. We take its freedom for granted, but it's created this not knowing what to trust, not knowing what to believe. And so we search in this group and we take on their belief system, or this group and take on their belief system, trying to find something that we can align our life around. Because ultimately, we become happy when we can consecrate our life in a clear direction, to know something to live by, or for, or with, or as. So when we begin to awaken, when we awaken, the thing we're waking to is that quality in us that knows north, that knows truth. But it knows it like a compass, where it just floats around for a while and then eventually gets to north. And if you don't read the compass right, north ends up being south, east or west. So you have to learn how to read the compass. So even when you get the ability to know the direction, you need to get correct information about how to know how to focus your actions effectively so that you can travel to something, towards something, that for every step you come towards, you come out of the morass and the confusion and the multiplicity of doubt and beliefs and contrary points of view. You come into this alignment, and there is a greater sense of that quality of you that chooses to make this the important thing versus that and that and that and that and that and that and that. So a consecrated life is a sacrificing of everything but that which you consecrate to. Now within that consecration, many things can be included. Matter of fact, inevitably, unless you come to a very dedicated path, you're going to go this way, and you're going to go that way, and then eventually find your way back. And if you've traveled this enough, it gets a sense of you growing in your ability to trust yourself, to have faith in yourself. And that's the most essential thing. Because the more you find faith in yourself, the more you find faith in everything else. The more there is no single way. Because once you've found that, then every way is the way. But how to traverse that and how to know that? It's learning how to have that quality, we could call it self-respect. A regard of ourselves, an honoring of ourselves, versus the diminishing and negativity and the defeating and all that. Because it's only recovering that sacredness within us that we can learn to dismantle those habits and those patterns of self-doubt and negativity and suspicion and fear and distrust. So we're all looking to give our life over to something truer, something that will bring us into a relationship with that awakened quality of what we are, where every step in that direction is a confirmation in our own experience of the truth of the path we're walking, even if the way isn't clear, the goal is. So I want to read something from the Mother Book that points to this. This is from Sri Aurobindo's. Most of you know that it's one of my other main scriptures. If you want to be a true doer of divine works, your first aim must be to be totally free from all desire and self-regarding ego. All your life must be an offering and a sacrifice to the Supreme. Your only object in action shall be to serve, to receive, to fulfill, to become a manifesting instrument of the divine Shakti in her works. You must grow in the divine consciousness till there is no difference between your will and hers. No motive except her impulsion in you, no action that is not her conscious action in you and through you. Consecrated life? Life is action. The actions we take. When a consecrated action is taken, it has a power. It has a power to come into existence when it's consecrated. And what gives that action the power? The truth of what we are. The truth of what we are is an eternal and changing presence, but it is also the dynamic evolutionary purpose of all existence. That through each of us, it finds a voice. Through each of us, it finds a dance. Through each of us, it finds a way of language and articulating the direction forward. We become our own scripture. We become our own teaching. It is something lived. And out of that it has a vibrancy that is able to manifest divine. That inherent truth is demonstrated through those consecrated actions. There's many areas of life where people have given themselves over to their role in war, in politics, in human services, in the healing arts, in medicine, in justice and poverty and all of these. And the nature of these is this powerful impact that actions that serve for a higher good have in our own ability to come to this recognition of what we are, our true authority. And with that, our self-respect, an honoring of the quality of us that can learn to do that, a quality of us that can grow out of the morass of the error that we've been habituated to. So in a positive human life, serving collective truths that are true beyond, true in all religions, in all things that serve the evolutionary purpose of existence. We grow in strength in meeting that inner reality we are and living from there. Now the Mother Book says, well, until you're capable of this complete dynamic identification. Anybody not in that category? Until you're completely capable, then there's some things you can do. I thought that was merciful of Shravindo to bring that forward. You have to regard you have to regard yourself as a soul and a body created for her service. So this is the first step. Live for God. Live for truth. That relationship that the 4 represents is I'm not yet that, but I sacrifice all that I do for that. I organize myself for that. I make sacred that. The act of 4 is an act of surrendering or sacrificing that greater good for that greater possibility. Because what it is speaking to is to be a divine worker, is to be useful, is to be able to serve the highest good to your very individual life. Not some abstraction, not some belief system, not some after you're dead kind of attainment, something to be lived. So this is the dynamic battle, and this is where most are who are in this work, at least at different times. I'm here for that. I'm here for God. I'm here for truth. I'm here to manifest that inherent possibility that is growing in me. It could be any of those or all of those. One who does all for her sake, even if the idea of the separate worker is strong in you, and you feel that it's you who do the act, yet it must be done for her. This offering up the outcome, that even if it's you doing it, I'm doing this, look how good I'm at it doing this, I'm helping, I'm serving, I'm feeling good about myself, I've got it together, I've got the markers of success, whatever. The secret here is detached from the outcome, detached from the fruit. This happened, I did this, yet I leave the outcome for the purpose of serving something higher. I don't lay claim to it. I don't use it as additive to compensate for my low sense of worth, or to feel safer, or to feel more in control. I back away. I do the action and give it away for free. It was very interesting because as an architect, I had this quality and I never recognized it. Well, I also had it in my love of building model airplanes. As an architect, I never went back and looked at my finished buildings, even when they got awards. It was like gone, that I had just done the building and the doing of it was enough. The same thing with model airplanes. I was a person who wasn't a good flyer. I could build good, but I crashed them all the time. And I never got disturbed when the plane would crash. I would just simply rebuild it again. There was this in the doing of it that I felt the satisfaction, be it in art, be it in architecture, be it in model airplanes, be it in anything I did. There was this freedom from grasping on the outcome as evidence of my worth. Because the worth was in the doing, in the action. So that's my own experience with it. I don't know if that is any direct bearing, but it's certainly true in this work. I do these talks all the time. I have no idea how they're being received. I have no idea if they're effective. I give this all over to the universe. I'm doing this for nothing. I literally am doing this for nothing. I'm doing this rather than doing what I would rather do, which is stay in direct contact with what's come to me. So there is this sense of action always, both Satchamai, everyone who's deeply involved in this work is in an act of doing it for something greater. And that's nourishment. That's food in itself, without laying claim to outcomes. All stress of egoistic choice, all hankering after personal profit, all stipulation of self-regarding desire must be extirpated from the nature. There must be no demand for fruit, no seeking for reward or validation or confirmation or how good you were or any of that. It may come, but then you don't claim it. The idea of someone seeing that you're doing something wonderful is a reflection of their appreciation. Receiving it is important, but not claiming it. The only fruit for you is the pleasure of the Divine Mother and the fulfillment of her work. Your only reward, a constant progression in divine consciousness and calm and strength and bliss. It's your secret payoff. That's the money in the bank that matters, is a greater expanding connection to that divine reality you've lived for. It takes such a burden off your shoulders to be able to know that you can take vigorous action that requires effort and sacrifice and process and still let go of the outcome, because the bliss of having done all that you can as best you can is enough. And then divine lets you know. You're simply affirming the proof. You're affirming the fact that you're living your consecrated life. And that is the reward within itself. The joy of service and the joy of inner growth through works is sufficient recompense for the selfless worker. So this goes on, but I thought I would kind of pull it back because this is rich enough. There's 3 stages: living for, living with, and living as the divine manifesting principle. But if you can do this first one, the other 2 will come naturally, without any effort on your part. It'll no longer be you doing the act. Interimly, she's always with you, or that is always with you. There is this sense of completely being held, of being right next to that, the Lord of your sacrifice. And then there comes a point where there's no difference. And then you are a true divine worker. So this is the opportunity of what we're doing. This is the opportunity by which we can include not just you by yourself in an ashram, in a room by yourself, but engaged in a community of people who are also discovering and empowering their ability to consecrate their lives. There's no more noble fellowship than this. No matter how shitty you think you are or how incapable you are when you compare to others, to be in that noble fellowship is support and evidence enough of your worthiness, of the truth has already come to you. Direct experience is proof that you don't need faith or belief. Direct experience, you don't need faith. It's happened. It's there. It's yours. What is yours, no one can take away from you unless you let them. The biggest enemy to you being able to have faith in what has come to you is your own mind, your own emotional nature, your own conditioning, your disbelief, your skepticism, your cynicism, your resentment and anger that has not been met. There are hopes and longings and wishes that you thought that if you had, you would be happier, that are remaining from your human life. So this is why you consecrate. The act of consecration is an act of sacrificing that other than what is aligned with the actions that bring you on your path. How well we do it, how much we do it, it's always going to vary. It's for the rest of your life, so you can let go of being in a rush. Because wherever you go, once you found this, it's going to keep happening. And each moment that arises, wherever you are, if you're 20 years older or 30 years older, it's still the same consecration. It's through this consistent and persistent recognition that my life is for divine that we can constantly bring ourselves back from whichever track we end up diverging from. And thereby we learn. Because you learn by being on the path and off the path. Everything becomes a basis for wisdom. It becomes fodder for seeing the greater truth. Until it comes to a point that you can be on any path. And there's no one single thing to consecrate. Rather, you live in a state of consecration.
Why don't you do check-in?
Huh?
Why don't you do check-in?
Yes, I think that was the wrap up. She's right on board.
Otherwise, we're all going to float up.
Okay. All right, so anybody who would like to come forward and share where you are or how that resonates for you?
You got a hand right here.
Where?
Look,
Like,
he's looking around. Good try.
you're right in front of me. Come here.
My name is Lesh. I think first day I sang my name.
Okay.
Today I don't know really.
Some things being nourished in you. Beautiful.
It's hard to speak. So, I'm very happy to be here with you, all of you. It has been 3 very hard weeks for me. I got no tears left, no spit, no, no nothing.
Ah.
Yeah. I just been in the car wash together with Joken, and he's greeting. He's on his way back. So Joken and I have just been a team together.
Yoki, is he here?
Yeah,
Yoki.
yeah.
Where? There you are. Okay.
Oh,
Yes.
you are here. Oh, I'm so glad to see you. I just messed you before the program, you know. So very happy. So I'm just in a state of whatever happened, it's been worth everything, every single day. I maybe attended half of the program, so then I'm just running off, you know. But no, I feel such a relief in some way. Something left for some days, 4 days ago, and I don't know what it was. And it was very, very strange because it was after one of the satsangs Tuesday this week, and you just mentioned rayas. Well, just be in the rayas. I heard it before, but the first
Being
time I
with the rajas.
yeah, just to be there, and oh yes, he told me that first time I spoke with you, Rishikesh, for 2.5 years. Don't be in the mode of reactivity. That's your thing, you know. You pointed to me. So I've been struggling with it so hard because it's been my life to work with theater and just be in the process of taking impulses, giving impulses, just being that, dancing around to people, you know, like a puppet, you know. And how to be a puppeteer and how to find what it's real me beyond that thing. That's been a really hard process sometimes. But what happened there, it was like suddenly I could feel the raya as a force coming out from me. It was like a radiation force. Oh, is that rayas? Because I've been fighting my sickness so hard with all pills, and I made it to the #1 project, you know, for the last 3 weeks. And I just kill it, you know. I will kill it or something. And then I just gave up, you know. And I had such, it was like a big cloud just going out from me, yeah.
Got it.
And I have been in these rayas, or just the presence of it, knowing that something's coming. For me, it goes from 0 to 100 in a millisecond, you know. That's my nature, like that. And to be in that state, and what happened then, it was like, suddenly I could feel also the power of not sattva, the other, what's called?
Thomas?
Tamas.
Ah.
And I could feel it like an inwards state. So it was like something pushing you down, but it was definitely inwards. And the same, I could identify the raya state. And then after that, it was some revelation. What is sattva? So sattva was something not going no direction. It was just something which was surrounding me. So it was like being in the state of these 3 gunas. And I know the theory. I listened to your gunas for 4 or 5 times in all these circles or anything, what it is. But now it was like such a fascinating process to identify in what state am I now. So just to feel the dance, or really, when being in meditation, tamas, sleeping, and then just going out to the rise dance and just when it meets sattva. So
That's very powerful. Very powerful. Because what is that which can allow the 3 gunas? It's the triguna. It's the that which is beyond the gunas. So the revelation you're experiencing is of your true nature. Experiencing the waves of the creative force, sattva, rajas, and tamas, are expressions of Satchitananda. They are the creative current that's manifesting endlessly in existence. When you can find it within yourself and you can see each throwing you out, pulling you in, and giving you spaciousness, and each is equal. None is better than the other. Then you're free. You're free to be in all 3. Not one or the other, just sattva, just rajas, just tamas. So, wittingly or unwittingly, you have been living a consecrated life. You've given yourself over to your work. You've given it your whole heart and soul. You throw yourself into that. So you've done it here. In there, you create a festival, you create an event for people. Here, you're creating the manifestation of your divine reality. And that's the higher function. So a consecrated life goes somewhere. It ends up someplace. You go from for you, with you, to as you. And what is it as you? Is you're in touch with the eternal reality of yourself as a supreme being. Learning to let this in. Now, he's never going to recover from this, but the patterns of his life can keep coming in and distracting him from it. But that's the nature of the full dedication, is you have time enough to break through these barriers and establish. And once it's established, it might be veiled, but it will keep growing and growing and growing in its own recognition. So, you got your money's worth.
Yeah, so now I definitely skipped it. You killed the idea of being enlightened. This is much better. This is so sweet. So it's
much better.
It's much better feeling. Yeah. So I will see what happens now, because now I feel very confused. I have no idea what will happen after this is finished. Now if you're going to the mountains, staying here around.
I would say give this all the time it needs.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm eating the elephant right now.
What's that?
I'm eating the elephant right now. Yeah, and I do as best as I can.
Okay. All right. So in the midst of eating your elephant, you're going to try to share.
Yeah. Well, I have two questions. First, I wonder a little bit about the individual soul, the jiva, and the universal soul. Because I have my bodily reactions if I think something or if somebody's talking. As I understand that it's the truth from the heart. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I got a reaction that this is the truth.
Okay.
And
That's all you need. The nature of what that might be, if it's coming from the immediate environment, people around you, it means that your consciousness is expanding to include others rather than just yourself.
Yeah, because that happened a lot with other people that I don't know. So I was thinking maybe that's the universal soul.
It's moving towards it. It's first the collective, and then universal is larger than that.
Yeah.
But it's going in the same direction.
Yeah.
So you might say that we're the little end of a series of descents from vast to individual. So when we awaken, we start the reverse direction. We come out of our individual soul into the greater and greater recognition of the all-pervading soul that's in everybody else and in all things, and then expands into the point until we can meet the one soul, of which is the source of all souls, and that is then takes us to the fullness of the supreme consciousness. So it's a movement over time as we expand out of our individual focus because of our human life, and we start opening up into connection to others, greater ability to feel what they feel, connect to what they're connected to, and then that expands into group, that expands into the world where there's this tangible sense that it's all one soul. It's all me in one sense. And I'm them. And that's unity. That's the expanding sense of oneness. Then we come, yes, we always end up back in the body. We end up into the capacity of our individual personality to be able to speak it or to function through your day. But the consciousness can be very expanded and still be able to operate at an individual level.
Okay. Thank you.
So are you eating elephant of others? Or is it just your own elephant that you're still
No,
eating?
it's just my own.
Okay.
What have happened this week? I was talking about in my group. Respect has always been very important for me, and during this week, I understand. I felt in my body why respect is so important for me, and I got the feeling that I will be killed if I don't do it.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's a left side blow from your ego.
Is it or?
Well, there could be the ego saying, I could be killed if you actually, as the soul, come to greater authority.
Yeah.
If you learn that I'm worth respect, that I am sacred, your ego dies.
Yeah.
It loses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it also means we have to get off the habit of our self-defeating, be small, be diminished, poor, woe is me, and all the compensating structures that are associated with it. It means we have to grow up. We have to come into life in the recognition of that sacredness. So that's what you live for. You live to honor that emerging quality of self-respect.
Yeah.
By dismantling that which wants to diminish you or defeat you or come up with fear, suspicion, or distrust.
So it's not in my system at all? No, okay. Okay. Thank you for that.
Sometimes a little right information helps.
Yeah.
Very important to understand that everything negative about our negative thought, negative story, our distrust, and our projections of that outward, distrusting others, suspicious of others, not feeling safe, it's the ego trying to keep claim on the kingdom that you are unwittingly still feeding, giving consent for. And therefore, the ability to know and experience your sacredness is being diminished because your ego is taking your energy away from holding on to that. So the consecrated life is something that you keep practicing. And it's a matter of dismantling those things that even intellectually you can recognize are not serving your own worthiness, your own value, your own nobility, the truth of what you are. The ego can partake in that. It will actually, a part of the ego that's addicted to the negative, will lose power to the part of the ego that wants to feel that kind of greater truth, that greater confidence, that greater trust.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good.
Hi.
friends in Stockholm and everybody else.
There she is. I saw her.
Anoop, how many people are on live right now?
We have 31.
Okay.
And plus another 15 on YouTube.
Okay. All right, someone else. Okay. You have to expand just to include you and everyone.
I think I'm good now. I've had such an amazing time here, and a whole layer of fear has left my body. I'm more in my body.
No kidding. It's really clear. Bali, this is terrific.
It's really amazing.
Earth has been waiting for you to manifest as Bali. About time.
Better late than never.
Yeah.
And just, I wanted to share that after the meditation with Saraswati today, oh my God, I've never felt so safe in my body, so held, so loved. Just, it's like I never got that as a baby, and
No human gets that.
yeah, thank
That's
you.
because you were in the arms of God,
Yeah,
arms of the divine.
yeah. So I really heard what you just said about the negativity and the ego, but I'd like to share, the intensive was so powerful for me to see the choices, the decisions and perceptions I made as a newborn, and the rage and anger that were birthed out of that. And I wanted to just ask for help with my marriage, because I historically have had a lot of terror about men, and my journey has been top down, and I believe me, will continue working on it the rest of my life. But I pull out in my marriage, and I just was wondering if you could give a little roadmap for the next little while, or if there's anything you see that I'm blind to.
So, in the state you have right now, what has come to you, this fearless, held you're with divine right now. Bring that to your marriage. In every piece of it, in every part of it. And declude whatever shows up in the space of being in your body, being held, and there's nothing to fear. So that you can begin to develop a new alignment other than the one you set in motion when you were a baby. And that's going to take time. But the more now that you know this is possible, you want to keep in relationship with this, what has come to you, so it can grow with yourself, and then bring it into your relationship, because you don't need another relationship. And you're in relationship, so this is the arena where all the remaining entanglement can be undone with John. So that's the consecration, manifesting the divine couple, the divine person in each other, and in that mutual respect and mutual admiration, in that noble partnership. Then your life becomes the path.
We're very committed.
Yeah,
So
I know.
thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Good for you there. It's beautiful.
yeah, it's beautiful. Wow, I'm so grateful for this Indian trip. It's really kind of made me starting to shoe my elephant really in the middle part somewhere down here. Oh yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for that. So many things has happened.
Yeah.
I have two questions, one very small for myself and one a little bit bigger for a group, I think. Just after the Sat weekend, I was sitting meditating, and quite suddenly there was someone hitting me in my back.
As if somebody hit you.
Yeah, as if, right. No one did it.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was not really a pain, but it was like this. It was really a strong hit. Can you explain what that was?
Yeah. That just kicked your heart into existence. That was the universe kick-starting, like, the dead person.
Yeah.
It just kick-started your heart.
Oh, yeah.
Because clearly that's what's with you now.
Okay.
You've got a new place to organize yourself around. Instead of here.
Yeah.
So the engine has been kicked in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So you keep it going by attending to it. Every action you do is from this place. Every problem you try to solve is from this place.
Yeah.
Every situation that arises up is from this place, not up here.
And it was such a beautiful exercise with this afternoon with Saraswati, with these different places.
Yes, good.
Really good one for
Opened
me.
up a bunch of possible sources
Yeah,
of
right.
information.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that was that. Actually, I'm very curious about yesterday evening, and you have spoken about it, and I want to ask. So I'm really, because when I've been talking with some people, what they experienced, I realized that they was not experiencing the same thing I did, and probably it doesn't matter so much. But for me, it was, there was really heat in my third chakra, and I thought it should have been very difficult for me, but it was very easy to sit here and have another body up there, kind of being like a mirror for sending the rays down to the senators. But that was my experience. I'm very curious about your experience.
Well, for me, it's very tangible. It was very real for me to be up above, grounded in my body, sending through my subtle body into the world in the way that I described. It's very real.
Yeah, and what did you experience this time?
Very, 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 very powerful. I was a little worried we would burn up the building. Now, what this will do, in fact, will simply force what's hidden to be shown.
Yeah.
Because it increases the consciousness associated with that which was before able to stay hidden or obscured, and it will bring it forward. So it can be a fire, it could be battling, it could be a further demonstration of the forces that are trying to obstruct and defeat and distract from that happening. So we don't know what the outcome is. I can just tell you that what your experience was a good approximation of what happened, but it varies for every person accordingly to how grounded they are and how much time they've had with me in this particular arena.
And I mean, if my mind kicks in, I don't know if this is for real or it's just my fantasy.
It's okay.
Doesn't matter.
That's what the mind can't. The nature of what the mind makes real versus what is real
Yeah.
is the problem.
Okay.
So we have a subtle body, and from the mind's vantage point, if you look at the subtle body from the mind, it may look like imagination. And as long as the mind has authority, you won't have a direct experience of being there. But once the mind loses that authority, you'll actually be in your subtle body and you'll say, fuck, geez, look at me. So that is not, it's just a practice that breaks the habit of the old practice of the mind that makes only this world, the reality. Once the heart opens, your ability to just trust it, to just let the doubt, the confusion, the questioning, none of these need to be addressed. You just let them go. Stay in the heart, your heart's your own experience. That's all that matters. It's your compass. It's going to be unique to you. There will be similarities, but we all have our own unique path. And these manifest at different times in different ways in each person. We don't all end up having the same kind of experience. It's going to be relative to the inherent design of our individuality, even in the subtle body. Subtle body carries some of the remnant of our human personality. Okay, very good. It's good to see this, Michael. Maggie?
Here we go.
Getting in the driver's seat, huh?
Oh, we're here again. I wasn't planning on coming up, and I've been feeling a lot of pain, and then just all of a sudden, there's so much heat and activation, and the pain has moved, and then I started getting really lightheaded, so I decided I've sort of done as much as I know how to do up to now, and everything's, just fine and dandy. And I don't know if I'm being melodramatic or if I'm actually getting in touch with the reason I'm here. And
Talk about that.
I don't want to. It's just too big. It's too ambitious. It's impossible. It's all the things. I just don't know how I could have thought that was a good idea or possible or.
It's all right. This is your smallness that imagine it's not possible.
Yeah, and I'm very aware of this. Like I'm the part of me that's grounded and clear understands all of this. I can't avoid it anymore. I can't pretend it's not happening and I'm not feeling all of this and I'm not hearing all of this and seeing all of this. It's just, I'm like I'm getting in touch with the heart of the matter and I don't know how to break out of that.
Speak what you saw.
It feels unspeakable. Or it's just so simple that it's just integrating love, divine love, into the matter of my core and this heart. And
Speak it.
it's like nothing. It's like collapse. It's just, I don't know how.
Okay. Well, you just spoke it. You just spoke it.
Yeah.
We all got it. There's no labeling or descriptor or picture. It's so big, you can hardly be with it. That's our magnificence. That's the truth of us. But she's looking at it from this strongly grounded, contentionally grounded little person who got her act together finally. And she's seeing this other thing. And she doesn't want to sacrifice this because she's not sure of what happens. So you just live for divine. You just do the consecration, the organization in simple ways, always simple. Because the previous simple will prepare the way for a greater simple, and then it all keeps becoming simple. And it's just all so as it is. And there's no fear, no deserving it, no anything. It's just allowing that inherent possibility to unfold to the actions of your lived life for the next 50, 60 years you have on the planet. Got plenty of time to do this. And therefore just trust that you're going to grow into it, just like you've grown into where you are now. You'll grow into it. And when you're in the right environment, when you're being like you're not being grown in the wild, you're grown in a hothouse. You're actually being, the whole process is being accelerated. You're being tended to, so that really you got nothing to fear at all. But that has to become real for that part of you that doesn't know that's possible. Yeah. So be where you are.
Things get more confusing when I'm in relationship with other people, and especially because I unwittingly was eating other people's elephants and maybe chose to eat other people's elephants. And so I'm
a little embarrassed then, or
no. I mean, at this point, shame. I just am not. I'm unsure what action is sacred, and
so most people don't know what your experience is. So therefore, you can be any which way, and they may or may not even notice how you're being, because they're so involved with their own process. So the whole idea of how to be with other, where the confusion comes from, is you thinking you need to think your way into existence. You've used your awareness. It's actually not just intellect or mind. It's a intuitive, psychic thinking that has structure. And that has prevented you from just being in your relationships. With nature, no problem, but with others. So you have a whole constellation of like shoulds and shouldn'ts, and it's safe, not safe, and don't want to harm them, and don't want to make sure that everything's okay. All that will fall away. And all you are is in relationship. Which, by the way, is all you're doing anyway. You can't help yourself. You're always in a relationship. You're in a relationship with me, even though you got confusion spitting on here and wondering what I'm going to do next, and there's this thing in my body. Should I do something about it? And am I doing this right? And I don't feel like I fit in, and all this stuff that's going on, right? It's just what the mind doesn't know how to shut up until we just stop listening to it. Then it grows quiet. Mm-hmm. Just listen to this huge heart you've got. Just listen to your body's knowing. You've got that already. Everybody else should be envious. So it's the mind that you thought you needed to develop to be like everybody else. You can let it go. Yeah, Michelle.
I just wanted to come forward.
Yeah. Good for you.
I don't, especially since I won't be here next month.
Yeah.
Okay, there's all that stuff going on in my body, and I was in pain sitting on that seat even this morning in the meditation. My belly, this whole area just hurts like crazy. And then I tried to
I try to do what you showed me to do, like bring it up, and it worked. Not always, but especially in the meditation in the afternoon, it really worked.
Good.
And that, well, I'm very grateful to be here. And that diminishing thing comes up, and I can feel like both
At the same time.
at the same time,
Very good.
or at different times. Both, either one actually. And okay, I don't know exactly what to do with it. I just try to be with it.
Yeah. I mean, you're like a light bulb that's. It's like, it's like ignition is occurring. This is this burst and burst. You can watch it, right? Is that Kundalini?
Basically, I can feel that I'm making myself small. I'm doing that.
Yeah. Oh no! By doing that, you're coming out of the smallness. Every jump is you coming up out.
And then I can see or feel myself coming out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So-
That's what's happening. That's actually happening. That's your experience. And you're more alive. You're more connected. You're like this bright light. It's like somebody turned the doll on. It's just like whoop, So you're tapping into the current of the universe. It's connecting you to that core reality of what you are and just the fullness of it. But your contracted habit, it's like giving birth, right? You got to push through the contraction. So this is contraction being forward there, being pushing up, up, birthing of something.
It
Right.
feels like so. I just keep doing it.
Yep.
That's all.
Yeah, it'll happen. It'll happen. It'll quiet down over time. It'll quiet down, and then there'll be greater peace and better ease, and you'll be on the next level of the work for you. Okay, it'll be more up here in your heart.
Yeah, it hurts like crazy right now.
But this is quite a ride. You don't want to shortcut this one. This is very interesting. A lot of information, quite entertaining at times. I mean, quite horrific at times, but really a lot of recognition of the nature of the human body and the nature of the embodied consciousness will come to you, which will be useful as you continue to progress.
Okay.
Okay. If she smiled anymore, her face would rip. Yeah. Ooh, take it all in.
Okay, I did what you said, and I went into my heart. My question, I wasn't even going to come up here because I've come up here a lot. So thank you, everyone, for all your patience with me coming up here so much. But it's overwhelming to be in the heart like that. And I know that's why I went into my head, but it's like, what am I going to walk around crying all the time? Or it's just...
Well, it'll be truer than how you've walked around up to now. Explaining everything and asking for rationalizations and justifications for everything. Yeah, it's much truer to just be crying.
So so that's my life now? Like, I'm going to be like this emotional mess.
Go ahead.
Okay.
You need to go through this disillusionment, this dissolving of you as you knew yourself, so that something can come and integrate. It'll integrate. You won't. Your mind is more than ready to jump back in. So we want to let the heart let the heart grow in its authority, so that the heart can tell the mind when to shut up. Okay, and to just have faith.
Okay. And I have one other question that we talked about, partnerships. And my husband started meditating since I've been on this trip, 10 years of marriage and no interest at all. And and I guess I'm excited, but how do you have that divine relationship? How do you nurture that? I don't want to be this teacher.
Don't. Please don't. She was never going to...
She's laughing.
Never, ever going to listen to me teaching her, so I gave up very quickly. No, what we do is we drag them along by following our own path.
Yeah.
And in time, they will come and find their own feet on their own. And, for such Mai, it was like 2013, 1998, so almost 15 years. So there was this process where she was holding distance and holding, it's not safe with this guy, and, I don't know really what's happening, yet I'm pulled to it, and there's that whole thing, right? I don't want to put words into her story.
Yeah, I guess I don't know, I never really thought about it. Seriously.
She just did it.
I just did it.
She just, without thinking, consecrated her life to supporting her husband as he finished the process. What's that? So that is why your husband's with you, to support your divine manifestation. It's why he came to you when you first came together, so he could, now he's going to be able to fulfill this purpose.
And then he feels his as well.
You don't have to say anything, you don't have to do anything, because as more he awakens, the more he'll experience the sacredness in you. And then when you experience the sacredness in you, he will want to serve you. He will live for you. That's how we lift others, where we become the truth of what, and then they discover the consecration of their life is to serve you. This is true for anybody who is showing the way for the unfolding of that possibility of ourselves. We give our life for them, because to have an object of your consecration very much helps you make progress on the spiritual path as a human being. You're more willing to do it than if it's an abstraction or a principle that's greater, vaster, or indefinite. So he knows you. He's lived with you, 15 years, right?
11, yeah.
11 years. So he can trust this. He knows the difference.
He's experiencing not only the physical, like when I get sick, he's sick. Like same with Washo, same here. But a lot of the highlights and my realizations, when I tell him, he's like, yeah, I just had the same thing. It's like he's here, going through the same thing, and it's just crazy.
It's just the nature of, how this world appears is not the truth. There are structures behind it. We inhabit and forget all that, but the fact is everything's sacred. The human is the unique organism that can imagine it's not. And imagines a relationship's just a guy and a girl, and trade it in for someone new when you're tired of it, is losing the opportunity of the marriage principle. So it's a chance for us to discover the divinity through another, and thereby in ourselves.
Well, I'm so glad to see you guys together too. And my last request is when you guys go around and do this, you do it at the same time, and I don't know which one to look at.
Yeah, I know that. So I used to try to start on the other side of the room.
But then we got confusion in the middle.
Well, maybe just like a few seconds behind him, so I can go there and there. That's my request. Thank you.
I bet you know what? It's so funny. You're the first person that's ever said anything out of all these years. Because it's awkward.
That's not true. I told you 2 years ago.
Oh, right, well, I forgot.
You don't listen.
2 years ago, Michael.
Because I feel like I'm missing out on one of you if I look at the other, and then I'm like, oh, wait.
That's cute.
So anyway, thank you.
All right, Bridget, thank you. And Michael, thank you.
Done.
When you were sort of doing the inventory of who's staying and who's going home, I felt such grief and such love. And my mind has been machinating about how to get more, how to be more with everybody. But there, when I felt that angst, it came into my lower belly, a familiar hollowness, a familiar emptiness. And I turned toward it, thanks to the reminders, and I felt compassion, I felt interest, and it seemed to dissipate. It seemed to, I became part of the group again.
So when you turned to the emptiness, when you consciously chose to be with that void that rose up in your belly, what arose was a sense of connection with others. See, it's not emptiness. It's the membrane of separation that comes from a habit of separation. So when you turn to it, the light of your consciousness was strong enough to disperse it, to move not fully, but towards the fullness of what's behind that. That you're connected to everyone all the time, wherever you are.
When you, and so I just have felt so full this evening. And when you started talking about the consecrated life, I just started sparkling. I felt just sparkling inside with resonance, with recognition. And I was brought back to when I first met the Gita in college 50 years ago or something. I forgot most everything I learned in college, but one thing stayed with me, and from the Gita was living a life of sacrifice, living a life of offering. And I've wished and intended all my life to live in that way, and yet my mind is this big thing that is a distraction, a judge, and how am I doing all that you've helped me to see better. I want to go home and leave. I can't leave my mind behind, but
Yes, you can. Yeah, we'll take a coconut, break it, and we'll bury it. And then you live from your heart from then on. The fact of, John, you've lived a consecrated life for 50 years. You've consecrated your life for 50 years. You know, you're still seeking to redeem yourself through it, which is not necessary. But the fact of the matter is that you've aligned yourself with that very thing that you recognized in the Gita, which was the truth of you, and you organize your life around that, for the most part. Yeah, going this way and that way. All the content that comes up is simply getting in the way of you knowing you've already living a consecrated life, and that's why you're here.
Yeah.
And to honor the nobility of that part of you, the true part of you, that has aspired always to do service, to do good, to be better. And then dismantle the part that kept saying not good enough. I mean, literally, it does not serve, it has no utility, it's irrelevant, and needs to just die. So live in your heart, live in your belly, live in your body, learn to trust and allow your system time to reorganize so that this becomes your lived reality. Let everything you do be for divine, for the manifestation of truth consciousness. Let that peace and bliss of the recognition of your own sacredness and your ability to make sacred You're worthy, John. You're worthy enough. You can be supreme now. You can let that stuff fall away.
It's beginning to penetrate.
Good.
And a beginning to trust, even welcome those wake up calls when I feel the twist. There's one more part of this is re-entry, and I felt here a willingness to let everything go, but I don't know how, and it feels like I would be doing that. I would be, I just...
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right to be doing to dismantling of that which no longer serves, and then doing the construction of that which does serve. So both those actions are valid, where the little ego becomes a collaborator with the truer ego. And you use your skills as a person to be able to accomplish that as effectively, as practically as you can.
Okay.
That's called creating a divine life. And you're going to build it on the debris of your undivine life. So, yeah, maybe parts of it are recyclable, you know? So,
Recyclable.
parts of the debris of your old life is recyclable. It could be used in a new construct. So maybe the good discernment might be useful. Put it up like a kind of cathedral window above the living room. You know, it is simply this recognition that you're in a process of reconstruction, and you're the one who's responsible for doing it.
Leslie and I were talking last night about downsizing and how many shovels I could get rid of, but not the grand piano, not the gardening tools. You know, what?
You can always put into storage that you're not ready, that which you're not yet ready to let go of.
Yeah.
And then over time, you know, you could just quit paying for the bill, and before you know it's gone too.
I just have to share a story from when Satri was still in the thrall of everything, and he's getting ready to go to India, and he literally gave away everything, right? And then later on, we had to buy new stuff afterwards. Don't do that. It's like,
I was just...
what happened to that? You gave it away.
We might need the truck.
But then I got over being Mr. Fix-It too, because I didn't have the tools, so...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Keep the truck.
This is a real possibility. It's a real life. It's something you can do. It's not an abstraction. It's not maybe part of the agreement of what it looks like, but you can construct a new life using the raw materials of your old life to the extent that you need them to create a new life in a greater alignment with your original purpose. Feels good too. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Eric.
That was quick.
I don't know, everybody seemed to have a happy story today.
Yeah, right. Now,
So-
now we want to have the elephant story.
Yeah,
It just sat on your face.
I feel extremely invalidated and defeated today. And then I got very angry. And I feel I've been treated very unfairly, but that doesn't really matter because I asked in the small group to work with this issue that I think is the core issue, and now it has been very much triggered.
Okay.
So I feel like I'm not completely here even because I'm dissociating. I couldn't listen to the talk. And
Okay, good. Thank you for coming forward, because you're bringing yourself into present time. So where is this in your
it's
body?
here.
All right. Right there at the diaphragm? Is it at the rib?
Diaphragm in here.
Yeah. Okay. So that's that.
That is always where it is.
That is.
Now it's extremely. It's extremely strong.
Okay. So this is where we hold our self-worth or lack of it. It's where we hold our affinity or lack of, it's the barrier to our affinity with others. Therefore, it's the lack of our ability to be in affinity with others and with ourselves. So this is the core location for most of our trauma, because it's where we were defeated as an individual person due to our seeking outward for our validation. And we get thrown into that diminished, unsacred place.
And there is also a lot of head pressure, like the force is pressure, and I feel dizzy, pressure in the forehead.
Okay, so it's a kick. It's a kick from the Guru. It's a kick in the gut, and it's opening up the remaining parts of the self-validation structure to be met in your new consciousness. The part of you that looks for validation outside of itself, confirmation of its own worth outside of itself, has just been slammed back into an early adaptation. Ultimately, this brings us to the point of being able to be with our own, be responsible for our own reaction. Just to be in cause, not the level of the story, not on the level of the justification or rationalization that the anger or the resentment may come up with, but at the level of the direct experience in your body. And all you have to do is stay with that.
Yeah, it's quite funny. I found this, which I thought brilliant article about how to work with emotions, but now when it's so triggered, I don't feel that I can do it.
Okay, so the defensive structure has come up, so it's cutting off the anger, the rage, the scary emotions that would overtake you. Yeah, okay. So it's...
Yeah, I was thinking about creating drama here in the chair, but that is not helpful at all. It's just...
Good. All right. That's a correct choice. The drama is just drama. It feeds drama, therefore feeds the structure that's trying to be released. So you're taking the right approach. Experience it in the fullness of its sensation in your body, and to find the part of yourself, isolated parts of yourself, that reflects. That reflects. So when you were diminished when you were young, when you were invalidated at different stages, just meet them. They're little pieces of yourself that's coming up into present time to be experienced.
I don't have any memories, really. That's the weird thing.
So then
it's just a sensation.
Just the sensations. Breathe into it. Take your hand and point on it. Dig into it with your finger. Let it have a voice. You start moving to other parts of your body now. Can you feel it? There we go. Is the sadness coming now? Yeah. So feel the sadness. Feel the reaction in your bodies. Notice how you move, the part of you that moves into alignment with what Eric is going through. The match, if you have it. Most do.
It's very strong.
What's the strong feeling? Sensation?
Like giving up or
Giving up?
dizziness. Not like wanting to stay here completely.
Okay, so your meeting experiences, these are past coming up. They're all coming up to just be met. Not to be here, don't want to be here. I can't be here.
I don't want to be here.
Don't want to be here. Is a decision of a young self. It does not have any power unless you give it power. Because you've already chosen to be here.
It really is just a sensation, a very strong sensation, but it is just a sensation. Uncomfortable. I guess there is nothing more to do than just be with it.
So where are you right now? Is there anything going on?
You.
Anything happening? Quietude?
It's a little bit less head pressure. I feel a little bit more here.
Okay, a little bit.
Like I'm less dissociated.
Okay, put both your feet on the ground. Sit up in your chair. Okay, now ground yourself to the center of the earth consciously. Feel the root of you to the earth. It's your umbilical. Okay, you can take this disassociated energy and send it down your whole body, all the way down the grounding cord. Send it down. Feel it going. Along with any other energies or feelings in your body, send it all down the grounding cord consciously.
I have a very hard time with visualizations.
It's okay. It's there. You're doing it. You're already doing it. So just imagine it draining out of your body and coming down, and whatever's in your head is able to come into your body so it can balance out. Into the heart, into the belly, into the second chakra, into the root of your body, down into the center of the earth. Okay? How are you?
No, I'm okay.
You're okay.
I still feel it, but
Okay, so
I
just
hope
gonna-
it will be there until it's gone.
Till it's gone. Exactly. All right. Eric, good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on.
Getting to the chair is a lot of the work for me.
Okay, good. Very deliberative. You're carrying an intent. What's your intent?
My intent?
Your intent for coming up and sitting. You aware of
My
that?
intent was to get to the chair.
Just to get to the chair. Okay. Congratulations.
And stay in my body on the way.
Oh, okay, very good.
Yeah. So I'm trying. That to be in. I guess I had an intention that was more.
Absolutely, you had an intention. The reason
I wanted to stay in my body and do this whole thing.
Got it. Okay, so how you doing?
The more I talk, the harder it gets.
I got it.
I like having your attention.
Uh-huh. Okay. It's okay.
I have a question about touching. As opposed to talking.
So,
when is it?
What is it?
When is touching an appropriate form of communication or an efficient or effective versus talking?
Okay. So the role of physical touching is there's a direct transmission from one body to another. And the need for that physical touch often comes from the starvation of a child in being validated through physical touch. And if there wasn't enough touching, then the confirmation that you're being seen or loved is confirmed, made more real through touching. So people come and touch the feet of the Guru for the purpose of being able to fully receive the grace. Sometimes it could be through the transmission. Others it needs to be through the touch. I allow people to touch my feet when that's what they need to confirm for themselves their relationship with me. So if that's what you wish to do, you can.
I do.
Okay.
Like however I want?
Yeah, you don't get to take them home with you.
Well, not actually, but someone already took a shit.
Whatever way you end up doing it, it's fine. Okay, you good? Thankful.
I think a really funny story that has, so Bhagavan came to Sonoma County to the family farm, a ranch, and we were all sitting around, and my brother-in-law walks by him, grabs his big toe and tweaks it. And everybody was like, oh my God, he just tweaked the guru's big toe. So you never know. Touching is everything.
Yeah, my brother was enlightened. He was unduly impressed. Okay, so that's it for tonight. We're going to finish with a silent sitting, and thank you all for bringing so much of yourself forward. Clearly, it's a special time. I believe that the thing for all of us is to, again, pay attention to using these remaining days of being in touch with the consecration, with the reason, so that those of you who will be leaving use the rest of this time as if each moment of it is a new opportunity to come into alignment with that consecrated life that you're intending for yourselves. Okay, that said, let's sit in silence and stillness for a while. And those of you on Crowdcast will probably be exceeding the time. Is that correct? Okay, good. So then you can all join us with a 10-minute silencing. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat Shri. All glory to Supreme. May truth manifest. Namaste.